We begin our news series with two Russian soldiers who got lost after storming Ukrainian positions. But they were found by a Ukrainian FPV drone. They fired at the drone, trying to destroy it, but without success. Then they just continued to run around the machine, but that didn't save any of them either. A few minutes later, another strike drone circles in the same spot, and by chance, another Russian occupier on a motorcycle passes by. What luck! The drone begins to chase him. Although the motorcycle was moving quite fast, it did not help them escape, and the drone caught up with the soldier. In this case, there was another Russian soldier standing near the house. He hears the drone above him, but cannot see where it is. So he decides to go down to the nearby basement. But he did not know that he was already being watched, and that the strike drone is already very close. Another one, in the same town, this time with a gun in his hands, which did not help him at all. He heard the drone and realized that danger was near. He chose the same hiding place, the basement. But FPV drones have a tendency to fly in there too. Two more. One of them is wounded. This time, they saw where the Ukrainian drone was, and they realized that they needed to hide somewhere immediately. They chose a ruined building. The only thing that could have saved them was if the drone pilot had made a mistake and failed to fly inside. But he successfully copes with the task and fulfills the mission. Another Russian soldier fell asleep right under a tree. But a few minutes later, when he heard the sound of a drone, he looked down, saw the FPV there, and decided to kick it with his foot, which he regretted very much. They thought they could hide in the middle of the forest, that the leaves of the trees and bushes would conceal them from imminent danger. But how wrong they were. Ukrainian pilots check every bush and very often find their prey there. The next target is raincoats, which are anti-drone camouflage often used by Russian soldiers. But they don't save them. Very often, it is even easier to spot them than a regular Russian soldier in the bushes. In this case, the Ukrainian pilot made a slight mistake and did not hit the target directly, but this had consequences for the Russian soldier. In the same place, the Russians abandoned their comrade, who was unable to walk. But the target was not him, but the soldier hiding behind the tree. And this one pretended to be asleep and paid a high price for it. This Russian soldier was caught by a Ukrainian drone as he was returning to his position. He had been walking for a long time and was carrying a lot of heavy weapons. So he decided to take a break. Instead of finding some bushes, he sat down in the middle of a field, with no cover. I don't know what he was hoping for. Maybe that Russian drones would see him and evacuate him. Or maybe he wasn't thinking about anything at all. But the truth is one. It was spotted by the Ukrainian FPV, whose pilots have already launched a kamikaze drone as a gift. This one felt like a seal and climbed out of the water to warm its belly. But there is no sun, only FPV. Russian military equipment transporting ammunition to positions is very often targeted by Ukrainian strike drones. Sometimes they don't even have time to leave before they are tracked from the air. In this case, the Ukrainian unit of Magyar birds received information from a neighboring unit that a Russian soldier was moving toward their trenches not far from their positions. Perhaps he was lost, or perhaps he was sent alone to storm the trenches. But the task was the same: to destroy the target. The drone made visual contact and locked onto the target. But it failed to hit the target on the first attempt. The enemy dodged, but fell to the ground, which made things worse for him. Next is a final selection of unique close-up shots of Russian soldiers who found themselves face-to-face with a Ukrainian kamikaze drone. In each of these episodes, we see the moment when the enemy realizes that a strike is imminent. Some rush to flee, some try to hide, others freeze in place, as if hoping that the drone will fly past. But modern warfare does not give second chances. FPV drones do not hesitate, do not stop, and do not make mistakes. All these soldiers set foot on Ukrainian soil uninvited, with weapons in their hands and the intention to continue their aggression. That is why an encounter with a kamikaze drone becomes an inevitable response for them, a just punishment for their invasion. These images are not just combat scenes. They are a reminder that Ukrainian pilots and drones defend their country, their land, and their people every day, standing between the enemy and peaceful life, which will inevitably return sooner or later.